Hey, everyone. Welcome to the recap of the Walking Dead universe. We are here live every week to discuss the latest episodes. So let's do the intro officially if my Evernote will load. There we go. Man, I'm having a day. Oh my God. So, anyway, you can catch our recaps anytime on most major podcast platforms. So, subscribe for free in the app of your choice, including on YouTube. For those of you joining us live today, thanks for taking time out of your evening to be here. I'm Tamara Ford, and I love a good TV show and a good book, of course. So if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at The Recap Pods. And if you're into books, you can also find me at Shelf Addiction. Joining me is show co-host Lisa. Welcome back, Lisa.
Hey, Tamara. Hey, everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author, and I'm also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture. And you can find me pretty much anywhere online at Lisa Orban Author.
All right, so before we get started, we want to remind you that we would love your participation in this conversation. So if you are listening live on YouTube or Facebook, hit us up in the comments section. And if you're catching this on a replay, you can still comment on any platform or by using the voicemail link in the show notes. So we want to hear from you and possibly include your comments in upcoming episodes. So if you are new here, we are laid back in our review style, right, Lisa?
Absolutely. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
No scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around. Huge spoiler alert for everything on every show up through yesterday's episode.
Yeah, we don't go ahead. We can, but we don't. For you, we don't.
Yeah, we don't. So if you're cool with that, this is the place for you. And we're gonna get started with episode 14. Yes.
Did you like it?
I did like it. I was feeling a little bit of a way about Negan, but I was trying to, let it go.
I know how hard that is. I was watching that. I'm going, Tamara's going to have a hard time with this.
Yeah, because so y'all know, if you listen to this podcast at all, I feel like no matter what Negan does, it doesn't negate what he's done in the past. He was right. That person. But in this episode, I really feel like he was really feeling bad about doing some of the things that he did. Like, I felt it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, oh. Well, when he was talking to Herschel, Herschel's sitting there and he's like, my mom says you're a bad man. And he's like, I used to be,
Yeah.
And then, and when Herschel figured out who he was, he didn't, he's just like, if you shoot me right now, everyone's going to know where we're at.
Yeah.
But the best part for me was, it was the whole progression. So he looks out the window, he sees something. Oh shit,
Right.
And then the next time we see him, when we hear, it's like, hey, found this kid in the car, and he kills the guard. And then the next one is between him and Herschel, when Herschel figures out who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one was basically him sitting, squatting down so he could be eye to eye with him.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't standing over him, but he was eye to eye with him. And he's like, I want you to go back with your mom and get a little bigger. And when you are, come find me.
Yeah, we'll make it square. Yeah.
And we'll be square.
Yeah.
And I really did. Because here's the thing. Negan has always had, from the very beginning, since the first time we were really introduced to him, has had an affinity for kids.
True.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And Herschel is just a little younger than Carl was when he first met Carl.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a really, he had this thing about, he didn't want to hurt Carl. He wanted Carl to be his friend. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he even kind of felt that towards Judith. Not as much, but it was there. And when he's talking to Lydia, it's there.
Yeah.
So, I didn't feel that scene was disingenuous, because Negan has always been like this with kids. And what he did with, to Maggie and killing Glenn and all of that, I think he does feel bad about it. And especially now that he's seeing, he's looking at Herschel, and I think he really feels that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. This is beyond just him having a softness for kids. I felt in my soul he was really regretful for
Hmm.
doing that. Um,
Well,
he won't
and that,
probably say out like to Maggie, I'm sorry. He probably won't officially say I'm sorry, but
well,
I can tell he's
but he did say, because he's like, when he told Maggie that he had Herschel, you know, and she's like, "Well, you," and he's like, "No." He says, "What it means is nothing will happen to him if it doesn't happen to me first." And he meant it.
he
He
did
meant that
mean it.
he would stand in front of whatever, and it would, he would do, with his last breath, he would try to protect this kid.
Yes.
Um, and then, but when Maggie gets off the walkie with them, she's like, I just left my son is now with the man who killed his father.
Mhm.
And the woman that Negan is apparently married to, that's kind of a nice turn of event.
I know, right? I'm
Um,
like, dun dun dun. Oh my god, he got
yeah,
married. Yeah,
but she's pregnant.
yeah, very pregnant.
And I think that's what's really making this whole thing hit home. It's not, he's had, since the fall of the Saviors, and that long time in jail, and the connection he made with Judith, and you know everything that's happened since then, and him protecting even Alexandria, and what he did for Lydia, killing her mom, when he found out that she was going to kill Lydia.
Mhm.
And everything, the whole experience with Maggie, and going through there and then disappearing. I mean, there's layers upon layers of him really coming to terms with, I was a dick.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah, I
real
honestly
dick.
think though that was the first time he openly admitted that he was bad.
Yeah.
Like he's always kind of said, "Hey, I did what I had to do,"
Yeah. Well,
or
he has referred to himself as the big bad wolf.
yes, but that was kind of like in a
Yeah.
quirky, funny kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Not
Yeah.
really owning the shit, right?
Right.
Um, so now he is, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan is doing a good job making us believe that Negan is different.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and I did. I mean, I believed it. I mean, the look, when, because here's the thing, when Herschel asked him, "Are you the man that killed my father?"
yeah.
He could have said no.
He could have, but he owned it. He's
He
like, oh,
owned it. And
yeah.
he knew that by saying yes, it was him, that it would potentially cause issues.
But he didn't expect that. I gotta say, I was kind of surprised Herschel just pulled that gun on him. I was like, damn. But
You know,
I was surprised, but not surprised because that's Maggie's son. It's like,
right.
it was like, whoa. But yeah, you know?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like I am no more surprised at him pulling the gun than I am at Judith pulling her sword.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But he
So,
seems like a kid of little words. Like, even, I think this episode is the most he's ever spoken.
he's a
And
very quiet kid. I mean, he
yes.
watches a lot. He says very little. Um, he's really, personality wise, he is much more his mother than he is his father.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because let's face it, Glenn was boisterous and bubbly, even. And Maggie has always been kind of quiet and reserved, and it got even more so after Glenn's death. And so, Herschel really is that reflection of her sadness. He's very quiet. He's very, I mean, what kid do you know could be on a car ride that long and stay quiet in the back?
I know. He's
I mean, come
crafty.
on.
He's crafty. And I mean, even when Maggie asked him, "What did he say to you?" His mouth was shut.
Hmm.
He's like, I'm keeping that to myself. Thanks.
Yeah. So he
Yeah.
plays. I mean, so he is very much a very vivid reflection of Maggie.
Yeah. And
Um,
unfortunately, I mean, we'll never know if that's just nature or nurture because Glenn wasn't around to provide any kind of counterbalance. So,
exactly. Well,
yeah.
and again, Maggie has gone from, bad to bad to bad, and Herschel, unlike, so, you know, unlike the other kids in Alexandria, even when things bad happened, there was still that sense of community. There was always that core group, so
Mhm.
Judith and RJ and the other kids, Grace, they've always had the set of people, and even if they've lost their parents, they still have this set of people that's consistent.
Yes.
Um, Herschel, on the other hand, Maggie has dragged him from community to community to community to living by themselves completely on their own to, really dire situations where there was no one to turn to. And I think it's, which I think that's really the big difference between, like, say, Judith and Herschel. Judith has had this, even when bad things happen, she still had this kind of warm, loving, not environment, but group, and Herschel has had his mom.
Yeah, exactly. So in the comments, you guys, Maggie, Karina is saying Maggie ain't gonna do Jack, and neither is Herschel.
Yeah.
And that is true because we know that there's another show coming, right? It's like we
That's right.
already know because of that they're not going to actually kill him at any point, at least
Right.
during The Walking Dead anyway.
Right. So we know
Not
that,
to
and we
say
know
I
Maggie
would never
lives.
say never though. We don't know how long that other show is going to last.
Right. But we know
um
that Maggie and Negan and Carol and Daryl for sure
right.
will make it to the end of the season. Okay, so we
Exactly.
know those four characters for sure because they're already guaranteed spinoffs.
Right. But looking forward, we don't know what their plans are. Is it one season, two seasons? Are they going to
Right.
try to let it go as far as they can? Or is it a set end? And if that's the case, I still wouldn't totally discount somebody killing him.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. And how's that going to work? So this is how I feel. I don't, you guys in the comments, tell me what Negan's wife's name is because I really don't know what it is if they said it. With his wife being pregnant for 12 weeks pregnant and knowing that they have another show, I feel like that is a bad sign for her.
Oh yeah, she's gonna die. She's gonna
Oh yeah,
die. You know.
she's not gonna make it out of this show. I feel like she
No.
can't.
No. I honestly, if she makes
Annie,
it two more
thanks guys.
episodes, I would be shocked.
Mhm.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Cleo.
Yes, thanks. So I feel bad for Annie, and I actually like her. We didn't even get a whole lot of her yet, but
Mm-hmm.
I like her as a character. I like how she reasoned being with someone who did such horrible things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've all done horrible things, and I mean, at
Right.
this point, Maggie can't even say she hasn't done horrible things. She has done terrible things.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I feel like if you've murdered someone, you've done a horrible thing.
Yeah.
If you've stolen from someone, you've done a horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's done them. So, and
I
that's the
mean,
thing about this show. Nobody is squeaky clean. Everyone is trying to get by.
right. Well, I mean, even if you look at, I mean, Maggie and when they were uh in her old stronghold. I mean, they're at the end. I mean, she's just shooting people in the back, you know,
Mhm.
ruthless.
Mhm.
And I mean, and that was really more of a Negan move. If
I
you
don't
think
know.
about
I
it.
feel like if I thought that these punks were going to come back around or I'd have more problems and they were running, I'd shoot their asses too. Like, I'm not even going to lie. In this
Yeah,
situation, like, these guys were trying to kill me 2 seconds ago.
yeah. But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Negan's the first encounter Negan's group really had with the Alexandrians was Rick and his group going in and killing one of their satellite stations.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. And
So I mean,
yeah,
from that point of view, I mean, Negan, as far as he was concerned, they were the bad guys.
yeah,
And and again, a lot of what Negan did, it was brutal, but it was really under that same thought pattern that Maggie had when she shot those guys as they ran. these guys are going to be a problem. I need to, I either need to kill them or I need to put them to heal. And that was that whole theatrics with Glenn and everything else. That was putting them to
I know.
heal.
But you know me, y'all. I remember way more than what he did to quote unquote our group.
Yeah.
He had women that he was basically
Oh yeah.
raping. I mean, he was like bad in a lot of ways, not
Oh yeah.
just the fiasco of, killing Glenn and them.
And I'm not going
So,
to say any different. What I'm,
yeah.
I mean, he took it to the next level.
Oh, yeah, he was horrible. And
Yeah.
I guess, people can change, I guess.
Well,
But
because when we went back and we saw more of Negan's backstory with his wife and everything, I mean, we do see that Negan was not, um, and he was not really a terrible guy. He had this wife. He was trying to keep her safe. He went through hell to get her chemo.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and even helped people along the way. And it really wasn't until she died, and something between the time that she died and we see Negan next, he completely transformed himself. So Negan really wasn't. He became a bad guy,
You
but that's
know,
not that's not it wasn't his starting point.
But this is making me like realize they're using that lame old plot device of the love of a good woman can make you good. So he was good when he had a wife. She died, he turned bad. He found a
Well,
new wife, now he's good again. I'm like, really? I mean, like now I
well,
just now realizing that they're using that as a plot device.
well, yes and no. I mean, the thing of it is it wasn't. I mean, losing his wife definitely had an impact. Don't get me wrong, but up until he had really gone out to try and get all this medicine for his wife and stuff, he really hadn't been outside, and terrible things happened to him. Um,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
and that's so we find out how he gets Lucille and everything else. But Negan has already been kind of on this road to redemption well before he encountered Annie. I think Annie was kind of the final piece to that puzzle, but she wasn't the whole puzzle. That to this person that he was, because we've seen versions of this before he
Right.
even left the Alexandrian group.
Well, we also have said he does what's in his best interest. And if it's
Yeah,
in his best interest to help you, right, or help the
right.
group or defend the group, he'll do it. So I don't think before that it wasn't selfless. I feel like now it's a different perspective than it was even then
Yeah.
when he was helping against the Alpha and all of that. Because that was, yes, I'm helping this group, but it was also self interest.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like it may not be like he's helping, he's teaming with them. It is self interest a little bit, but I don't think that's the root of it.
Well, I still think it's self interest. He has a wife. He has a child. He
Yeah.
has a stake in this.
But
It is in his own best interest.
he gains nothing for protecting Herschel, right? I mean, he knows that Maggie hates his guts no matter what.
Right.
So him saying that he's going to be in front of whoever comes, you know what I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
front to me that's not self-interest. He meant that. I feel like I don't know. It's hard to explain. I just feel like it's a little bit different now than it was before.
It is. I mean, but I also think again. I mean, there's self interest involved.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, if you think about it, very rarely do any humans operate altruistically. There's always something in it for them. Okay, 99% of the time. It just depends on how much of that self interest is motivating you versus doing a good deed, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, and I think for Negan, really, it's not so much this. I don't think it was a radical shift with her. I think that it was just more of a the scales are rebalancing, but they have been slowly rebalancing for a while.
Oh yeah, over a decade, right?
He's had a long time to really sit and think over his past deeds. But I really think it was more when he got out of the cell where that impact of the things that he has done has really begun for him to hit home
Mm-hmm.
in a variety of ways. It was, the it kind of started with Alpha, and then Maggie's return, and all these different things have kind of layered themselves on top of each other. Him leaving, and then and basically being able to have an almost fresh start with a group that had no prior connection to him. I think it kind of allowed him to make that final real break with the person he used to be.
Yeah, he could like reinvent himself again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
they didn't know anything he did. And
Right.
I bet you the whole community didn't know what he did. His wife knows what he did. Until now, when he admitted it in front of a room of people that he
Right.
killed this kid's dad.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to know what you guys think of Negan now. Like, is he redeemed? Is he golden now? Is he good to go? Or do you still have problems with him? Or is it somewhere in between? You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like he's like a hard character. He's like really hard to. It's like you want to like him, but you know you better not like him.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and honestly, I think the actor that plays Negan is so good.
He is.
And I mean, you love to hate his character, but at the same time, he gives it something that, even though he's a bad guy, he doesn't make him inhuman.
Yeah, I think more of he's definitely softer than he was even a season ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not as hard, but I have a long memory. I agree with Cleo. Cleo in the comments is saying no redemption for me. Karina says Negan is still a murderer and a rapist. We see the PTSD Sherry is still having on Fear of the Walking Dead. True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
True. So he
And
is
all
not.
those things are true.
Yeah,
I
true.
don't just, he was a bad guy. He is a bad guy trying to, I think, become a better man.
Right.
But again, it doesn't erase the bad that he
No.
did. Um, but I can't say that he's the same person
No, I
that
agree.
committed those bad, you
I
know?
agree. It's like one of those things like, I think of him like a vicious dog, right?
Hmm.
That dog bites you or tries to rip your arm off, you'll never forget it. Even if he's rehabilitated, right? You never
Right.
fucking forget it. So you're always going to be side eyeing him a little bit. Always.
Yeah.
You're never going to be like, oh, he's so nice. Oh, he's got my back. He would never do anything. Forever in eternity, anyone that knew him from before is always going to look at him side eyed.
Right. And but so like I said, I think that he's been slowly changing, but when he was with when he was with the Alexandrians, they were always there to continually remind him, you are a bad man. You were a bad man, you are a bad man, you'll never be anything but a bad man. And then he got with this group, and he wasn't the bad man anymore.
Right.
You
But like
know, I,
even Aaron, like when he's talking to him and asking, how'd you find this group? And he's asking questions. And he's like, oh, great. Were you a part of putting those skulls on the wall? They
mm-hmm,
automatically draw negatives when it comes to him.
right.
What did
You
you
know,
do?
right. So I mean, because it's when anybody who has dealt with him before, they always think the absolute worst first.
Yeah.
You know, but when he got to this group, they didn't. They gave him the benefit of the doubt, that they give to every stranger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it did allow him to kind of finish his arc.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, I think they're doing their best to make us not hate his guts. So we'll watch that other show.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we have known for a while that they were going to put Negan on this redemptive arc.
Yeah.
We've always known that this was going to be, part of the show.
Right.
Even before the announcement of him and Maggie going off together, on a different show, on a spinoff.
Mhm.
Um, I until that was announced, I really did think in the back of my head they're gonna kill him before the end.
I
Um,
really wish they would've. I don't know how I feel about this other spinoff, but we can talk about that at the end because we have, like, a bunch more of this show still. But, yeah, I get because 'cause I'll go on a rampage, so we we'll come back around.
well, and
Um,
I really before I make any judgments on this show, I really
yeah.
want to kind of see more about what it is they're doing and why him and Maggie are together in New York. I mean, that's a trek. That is
Yeah,
a
it is.
trek
It is.
from
Hopefully, they'll, well, we talked about this a little bit last week.
yeah,
Maybe they'll give us a good exit that explains why, why,
right.
when.
Because right
So,
now, really, all we have is we have what a 30-second, little graphic thing, and announcing that this show is coming and that it's going to take place somewhere in New York, in the New York area.
right.
And that's really all we know right now. So I mean, it's I don't want to prejudge it either way yet because we don't know anything about
Right.
it.
Yep. That sounds fair. That's fair. But I also liked in this episode how they balanced, what was going on here with,
Hmm.
Maggie and Negan and everybody against what was going on back home with,
Oh yeah.
yeah, with like I feel so bad. I'm like, poor Rosita and Daryl. They get like wrapped up in some bullshit.
And not even because they were trying. I mean, this was
No.
just and so they get sent off on this mission because the governor's kid basically said, you got kids, and made those threats.
Yeah.
And you know, Rosita and there was a chance that Rosita and Daryl could have fought their way out of it, but not without, you know, at least one of them getting shot.
Right.
But
But they were right. I mean, they were right to go along because
yeah,
they have kids involved. It's better. That's why Rosita said, "We do this and this is it." Right? It's
right.
like one
This
and
is
done. You're not going to be jerking us around for however long.
yeah, we know that
Fine.
that's not going to be the thing.
Right. And that's why I'm like, you say that, but it's not going to be that, right?
Hmm.
So, but that's what their intent was, right? So now they go and do this thing, and of course it's just a mess. It's a hot fucking mess, of course. They
From
put the
start
blood
to
on.
finish.
From start to finish, it's a fiasco. And I'm like, okay, so how I'm like confused how that one lady could not make it out alive. I'm confused by that utterly. Like
I
there were so many there were dead people in there with her, weren't there?
where
Was
in
there
the
Yeah, like
yeah
in the house and stuff.
yeah.
They could have put blood on them. Why didn't they put more blood on them?
Well, I think because they transferred the armor to her, I think they figured that that might be enough. And it really everything was fine. It was when the greaves there on her arm got caught with another zombie, and she got hooked.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, oh, of course somebody had to die, but I guess that was an easy throwaway because we didn't know her,
Right.
so it
Well,
was
and I
fine.
think it it doesn't complicate the storyline
No,
by her dying. It was enough to so with Daryl and Rosita and everything, and Carol. I mean they because at this point she was alive to give them information. That was the reason she was there.
yeah, she was like, she really helped, I guess defend why they were there because when, what's his face shows up, I think he kind of believed them, but it helps that some innocent bystander is telling a story, right?
Yeah. Well, and so when they get sent out, it was initially it was presented to Rosita and uh, Daryl that he had sent one other group, but they didn't make it.
Mhm.
And then we find out it wasn't just this group of three; it was 50 people or
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
and and they're and he's basically been sending the equivalent of townies
Oh yeah.
out there who have no experience dealing with the dead and didn't know what to do. And I mean, it's surprising. Honestly, I'm shocked that
Look,
that chick made it to the panic room.
yeah, I'm surprised she survived because we pointed out, I think you said a couple episodes ago, like these people, they've never lifted a weapon, right?
No, no, unless they're in
And
the military, they're these they're
right.
townies. I mean,
Yeah,
they are townies.
with no training, because I think it was Maggie that said these people haven't been tested in a decade. So
Yeah.
that's 10 years of regular folk walking around, not practicing honing skills or anything.
Hmm.
And they're like,
Well, and
"Oh, you're down on your luck, you need some help, go out there and get this money."
right. Well,
Like,
and
what?
in some cases, I mean, it, even a decade ago, they may not have been really tested because, as it's kind of explained, they walled that city off fast.
Yeah.
Now it was much smaller to begin with. They have expanded as they have gone.
Mhm.
Because I think they said they started off with just what a block or two or something like that.
But that says a
And
lot that 50 people can disappear and no one has said, we haven't seen any missing posters. We haven't heard anything about missing people
mm-mm.
or people leaving or running away. 50 people, now, yes, that is a very small percentage of people when you talk about 50,000 people. But
Well,
that seems odd, right?
but if you think about it, who controls the narrative there?
Yeah.
Who's in control of the military essentially, or the police force, whatever you want to call it. They're
Mhm.
armed forces.
Lance
Um,
dirty butt. He's so dirty.
exactly. See, I mean, so at that point, families are coming to them. And they're well, sometimes people sneak out to try and get some extra rations or something. We'll keep an eye on them. Oh yeah, she was seen sneaking out. But we couldn't stop her. And so even if people are making reports, he can bury him, and he is completely aware of what is going on here because we
Mhm.
know this because of the conversation he had with Carol.
I
He
know.
knew.
And speaking of that, I feel like Carol did that to find out if he knew what was happening.
Oh
Like
yeah.
to see how far he was into this.
Hmm.
And so she did just that. I'm telling you, Carol she is the
Masterful.
best dang on agent ever. She will trick you. And he really thinks that she is like Team
His friend.
Lance. Let's do what needs to be done.
Yeah. And he even said, it's really nice that there's someone that can see the big picture like me.
Right.
So he is now looking at her as a confidant.
Yes.
Someone that an unofficial lieutenant, someone that he can lean on, and who, because he thinks that she sees the world as he does. And
Mhm.
and the thing of it is, and again, Carol is always, oh, she's always been the chameleon. And I think it really goes back, and again, I think it all goes back to, when we first met Carol, she was in an abusive relationship, and she had learned to keep her mouth shut and put on a stoic face and agree, and it looks like sincerity, and she is really just kind of built on that skill, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Carol is the one. If you need anything, like any group infiltrated, send her.
Oh yeah.
Send her because she is so non-aggressive looking. She's so unassuming
She
and
talks
she
quietly.
blends into the background.
Yeah. I mean, she's a skinny lady with white hair.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she doesn't look like she's much of anything. Everyone always underestimates Carol.
Mhm.
And yet she is probably the most dangerous people, and probably the closest to bad guy.
Oh, she is bad. And that's what I love about her, like, but she does it like with good intention. She's like
Yeah.
not like evil bad, but she's
No,
like, I just do what needs to be done.
the means justify the ends.
Yes, right,
But at the same time, Lance is looking at what he's doing as the means justify the ends.
right. But he's
Um,
coming from a selfish point of view, and she's
right,
coming from a protective point of view.
right. She's when she's looking at the big picture, it's not about her wants, it's about what's best for the group.
Right.
Um, whereas Lance is very much what benefits him the most right now.
Yes, the only exception would be when she was on her alpha rage, but that was a different thing.
Yeah, that was a whole. That was a
Yeah,
yeah, and we were very upset with her.
right,
She was melting down.
right.
Didn't help that she was taking all those stimulants and everything else, so she wasn't sleeping and
No, I know,
hallucinating and
right?
but anyway,
But I love
but yeah,
this version of Carol. This is the version of Carol I like the best.
and this is kind of this is Carol's default.
Hmm.
For the most part, this is where we always see her going back to time and time again.
Yes.
Um, I'm kind of surprised at this point she hasn't offered Lance some cookies.
I know.
And
Like, would you like some cookies? I made them just for you.
just for you. Um, yeah, I mean, and the thing of it is Carol is not above using it. She has used him already to get the surgery, you know,
Yeah,
um, that Ezekiel needed.
right.
And she doesn't feel even a little bit bad about it.
No,
Ezekiel, on the other hand, is like, do you know how many people are in that line? Yeah, but they're not you.
right.
You
Yeah,
know,
and
they,
so what?
you know, lesser
Yeah,
men have gotten more for fewer reasons.
right. Including Lance
Yeah.
Hornsby. He
Because
is
really, what is
dreadful.
Lance's contribution other than being,
He's stirring him up. That's what his
yeah,
contribution is. Like, he is just a shit starter. He's just trying to
yeah,
take control by any means necessary. And it's a mess.
yeah.
So I like that we got that, you know, that, okay. So, how we saw at the beginning that scene where Daryl comes up with the Commonwealth Army and he's like,
Hmm.
let us in. And we said from the beginning, it was not as it appeared. They did a bait and switch, and it was a
Right.
bait and switch because now we know, very well, we haven't seen that scene yet, but Carol told Daryl what she knew. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
He had that experience. Mercer has their back. He's telling them things.
Hmm.
So
Well, and,
even,
and we know at this point too that Gabriel and Aaron will be going back and talking to
right,
their people in the Commonwealth. So
exactly.
all of this is going to start to kind of coalesce.
Right. They're going to know. And when he goes back there, it wouldn't surprise me. Mercer is there too, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is actually on their side as well.
Well, I've kind of had the impression that he's kind of always been on their side in a weird way. Um, Mercer really, I mean, Mercer is not a bad person, okay? And he is doing, and I think he's doing what he's doing for the same reason that Daryl does. He has a sister to provide for. He's trying to help the community. There's a certain nobility to him, unlike Lance or even the governor of that city. Um,
Yeah.
so
I
he,
think Karina is spot on. He's tired of the BS.
yeah,
He was never against the Commonwealth, but now he's seen too many things, right?
mm-hmm,
And we've gotten hints of that dropping the whole time. Like he will say to, Daryl, hey, you're just like that for a reason.
mm-hmm,
Obviously someone wants you to look approachable, right?
right,
We everything is for a reason. Don't think, he's been kind of telling him this whole time, like things aren't exactly what they seem. And
right,
when they quote unquote lost that prisoner that was in the hospital,
mm-hmm. Oh,
I
he was
mean,
pissed.
he was a livid. So it's like now he knows that something darker is going on, but I don't think he
Mm-hmm,
knew like the whole picture. But now with working with our people and having like Carol as that spy,
yeah.
basically, they're going to
Well,
be able to figure
and
this
then
out.
and again, when the Alexandria group comes back, that they will confide in Carol and
Yes.
Daryl,
Yep.
and Carol will, or Daryl or both will then confide in Mercer.
Yes.
So you know this whole thing is gonna it's gonna snowball.
Yeah. So that approach to the wall of Hillside is totally
Hmm.
not what we think it is.
Oh yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
we all kind of knew that because
Yeah.
if nothing else, I can't foresee any circumstance that Daryl would do this with Maggie if he honestly thought that Maggie would come into
No.
harm's way.
Right.
Um, they have been through too much together,
Mhm.
and even though they are no longer together, and and Maggie's return has been fairly brief, that connection between them is still as strong as ever.
Yeah. Like, they
You
know
know,
each other. They were together in that tight-knit group for years
hmm
and years.
yeah. And I don't think that there's anything that could make the two of them, to go after each other. And I really think that was cemented after. So when Maggie lost her shit when um Rick did not kill Negan, and
Mhm.
they all, Maggie and Negan and Jesus and I don't remember who else, but that group started to conspire against Rick and the bridge and everything else. And when they lost Rick, it suddenly kind of came crashing down on them. We can't fight each other. I mean, that
Mhm.
was really what cemented those groups back together again was losing Rick.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
realized that, even if they don't see eye to eye, um, they have to have each other's back. They
Mhm.
just have to. You don't have to agree on everything. You just have to agree with enough.
Right. Yeah, so now I'm really curious to see what's going to happen there, because now I mean Mercer is in it. He's killing his own soldiers.
Hmm.
He's helping them, like, when they came back in, he's like, "Oh, I'll carry these bags cuz they won't search
Yeah.
me." He's flipped.
Yeah.
He is no
Well, and
longer a Commonwealth soldier in the traditional sense.
I also think it helped that because I mean from like Daryl, especially Daryl's point of view, this whole money thing is just stupid.
Right. So this is what I was confused about. So back way when they first came to the Commonwealth and they were being
Hmm.
interrogated, we saw bins of US money. They confiscated all
Yep.
money.
Hmm. And then
So
they
I
dole it out.
Yeah, but I thought for some reason, and I didn't bother trying to go back and review, but for some reason in my mind I thought they told them they burned the money,
Well, they
or they
probably do burn quite a bit of it.
yeah.
Um, because for something to be valuable, it has to be scarce.
Yeah, because then
So,
I was wondering what money were they handing out, like, after that
mhm,
black tie event where the fiasco went wrong left and the guy tried to, kidnap a girl, and they were handing out envelopes of what I thought was money, like hush
yeah.
money or something, and I'm like, "Well, where did that money come from?" So, clearly, that's where it came from, because obviously money is still a huge commodity there since Sebastian's trying to steal all of it.
Well, because like I said, I know they are using actual cash.
Yeah,
They don't want an excessive amount of cash, and they don't want people to come in with it. They want people to live in the stratus that they have assigned for them. So if someone that they consider low status comes in and has a wad of cash, then that throws their whole system into disarray. You
yeah,
only get the cash that the people of the Commonwealth have decided that you are worth. So by taking the cash away from them, everyone starts at whatever level they've assigned them. But they have to have a certain amount of it. And probably for every
yeah.
new person that comes in, they probably put like an extra 10, $20 or
I think
whatever.
they all start at probably nothing when they come in, but a
No,
doctor or a lawyer makes probably 10 or 15 times what a server makes.
exactly. And that's just it. So
So,
so
yeah,
from the very beginning, what they consider high status jobs,
right.
lawyers, doctors, um, not really sure what else they consider high status jobs. Probably
Probably
accountants,
government jobs.
government jobs and stuff,
Yeah,
whatever they consider high status. And again,
hmm,
they're basing all of this on what you used to do before.
right.
I
Or
do
just
find it interesting though that they still don't know what the hell Daryl was doing.
I know. He's like, none of your business.
He won't tell him. He won't even. I mean, even now that he's in, he's like, does it matter?
Yeah.
Why does it even matter?
He's smart because he knows he was a loser before. He not gonna say.
Right. Well, and the thing of it is if he admitted that he was a drug dealer,
Yeah.
he'd either would have been shipped off to work at the opium, fields under Lance, or
Or
he
he'd
would
be a
have,
damn janitor. That's what
yeah,
he'd be.
and he would
Yeah.
never have the chance to do what he's doing because
Right.
again, and again, it's been 10 damn years or over 10 years.
Right.
It's been however many. It's been a long goddamn time.
Right.
Why does anyone's job really matter from before? Truthfully,
It doesn't. It
but
doesn't.
but the fact that they're basing their entire society on what people used to do before, really pigeonholes people, and
It
it forces
does.
them to stay within these very narrow confines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I know that when Daryl found out, I'm sure that he was let in on, your status is decided on what you did before.
Well,
There's no
you
way
kind
he's
of
going to
gave us
share.
that answer. Like earlier, you said they were blocked off very early in the game, right?
Uh huh.
So, very early, one day you're a teacher, the next day the apocalypse happens, you're
Mm-hmm.
in this group, you're in a safe space, you're still a teacher,
Oh my
right?
God. Think about it. If they had taken it Negan, he'd be a fucking gym teacher right now.
Right. Exactly. So I think that was like what it started it because they were all so protected so quickly on. Who had
Mm-hmm.
time to learn a new skill? They weren't out there. They were protected the whole time.
Right.
But that doesn't
So
apply to the people you're bringing in, and they're not considering that.
yeah. So yeah, it's, the whole way. I mean, yeah, because up to this point, since the downfall, they haven't dealt with money. Money is not, I mean, they've traded, goods, services. They fought, for things that they need, but money has never entered into it. Money, precious gems, everything that the our society had prior to the fall had based as part of the display of wealth didn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
Not to any of them. And I know it is so hard for them to get back into that mindset because again, I know Daryl's looking at that stack of cash going, this is just dumb.
I
It's
know.
dumb.
Like, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
Right.
Except of course, the governor's son has been used to all that money can buy and she has cut off all of his funds. So he is turning to whatever to continue maintaining his lifestyle. And now you've got to wonder, when is she going to notice that he has not had a drop in status?
He's still doing all the things. He's going on the dates. He's
Yeah,
like, yeah, she is not she barely pays her son any attention.
true. But I mean, you would think that someone would let her know. But then again, like I said, Lance is completely aware of the fact that her son is doing all this.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, thank God, someone finally did that." So he's aware of how many people were sent out. He's aware of this whole thing, and so he's the only one that would probably tell her, and he's not saying a word
No.
because he's getting his cut too,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and that's
Absolutely he
probably how
is.
he's paying for a lot of the wet work that he's getting done.
Yeah, here's a little money on the side. Thanks for
Mm-hmm.
doing these tasks for me. And so okay, we got all that. So so let's go back to the other location. I was excited that old boy was killed in this episode. What's that guy's name? Lord have mercy. The Commonwealth soldier who was
Yeah, the
crazy.
the 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 wet work guy.
Yeah, the wet work guy. I was like, yes, I'm glad to put that to bed and
Well,
really quickly.
and I got to tell you, the part that I think I may have enjoyed the most, all right, is the fact that when Negan shot him, didn't even like shoot to kill. He shot him in the knees and then till he fell off the building.
You know what? And that's one thing I don't understand. How did all of those people fall off of the building and they died, but he falls off the building and doesn't die immediately?
I'm gonna go with armor. Well, I don't know.
But his head wasn't covered.
I don't know.
I, it's
I mean,
like,
I don't think all of them died instantly because, truthfully, not all of them would die instantly from that fall. Um, it would more depend on where they hit. Not that they would last very long, don't get me wrong, but without medical care. But I don't think all of them died immediately.
probably not. But that just seems so weird to me. Like, oh, he is alive down there. Oh, groaning. And then, of course, he gets eaten. I thought that was pretty freaking funny. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's how you deserve to go out.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna say this. There was a small part of me that felt bad for him. Okay,
Really?
well, only because if Lance had left this man alone, he never would have done any of this. He didn't want to do any
Yeah.
of this. He kept saying, "You don't understand the kind of person I used to be. I don't want to be that person anymore. I have a good life. I meditate. I have this Zen thing going on. Um, but then once he got back in it, he was in it to win it. But there was just this. I mean, I didn't feel bad for him because he could have not been that dick. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I did feel a little bit bad for him because, again, if Lance had not forced him into that position, he never would have done it
Yeah.
voluntarily.
You reactivate someone that's a killer like that, you're not gonna, I mean, they're not gonna be able to reel it in. I mean, his job was to go and just take care of it. Take care of it.
I'd like to point out that this man was a trade killer before the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a bad guy to begin with.
He
Um,
was.
but he was really trying to be a better person, you know, and he obviously wasn't perfect, but he was committed to it, and he really did try to fight hard against doing this, but he was manipulated into it by Lance.
He tried to reinvent himself like Negan did, but it didn't
Hmm.
work.
Yep. But I think if he had been left alone,
Yeah. Or if they
you
didn't
know,
know what he did before,
yeah.
he would have been left to his own devices.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. So, speaking of like evil people,
Uh-huh.
Leia's back. Leia's back.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay. So at the end there, you know, we got the Commonwealth soldier crawling. Oh no, don't get me. And they
Uh-huh.
grab her
And
head
those are
and
the ones
slice her
that
throat.
Maggie ran into.
Yes. Because it said 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, so they were trying to figure out, well, who stole the guns? And then it switches to that scene. And as soon as they show her face, I'm like, dang it. I'm like, I wasn't like, it was kind of a mix of surprise, but no surprise.
Right.
Of course it's her.
Okay, because I gotta tell you, there is a part of me that when we didn't know for sure about three-fourths of the way through this episode, I'm going, was it Maggie? Did Maggie do this? You know, because I mean, here's the thing: if because we really didn't have a lot of information on this little convoy thing, other than Lance had sent it out.
Yeah.
So for all we know, he had sent he may have sent soldiers out, but not dressed as Commonwealth soldiers. So it is possible that Maggie could have been the person. All right.
Yeah.
If she didn't
Possible.
know where they were coming from or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Leah coming in, I'm like, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It
Damn, she
does
is,
make sense. I'm like,
and she's got, right now she's got guns and drugs.
she got guns, knives, and Maggie should have just killed her. She should have killed her. She tried. She tried to take
She
her
did
out.
try, and
She
I mean
did
she wounded
try.
her, and
Yeah.
but and Daryl could have because he knew she was there, and he's just like,
Yeah.
just leave.
Yeah. Those dang on feelings.
I know.
You try to give someone a chance because you think you might have loved them at one point, and
Well, the thing of it is he did love her. He loved her a lot. Are you there, Tamara? I think I've lost you. Hello? Hmm. Hey, Karina, can you hear me? Or can you hear Tamara?
Oh my God.
There you are. What happened?
Am I gone?
There you are. You're back. What happened?
Okay. I don't know. My connection just dropped.
Okay, because I was sitting here. I'm like, I don't. Can is it me that they can't hear? Or is it you that we can't hear? Okay, thank
No,
you, Cleo. You can hear
no,
me.
look, my connection just went to 100 to 0. It just tanked for no reason.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's this system I'm using because my internet hasn't changed.
I don't know.
So it went from 100 to 0 like that. I'm like, "Oh no."
Okay, because I've got 100% connection here.
Yeah.
So
So that was
anyway,
weird. Anyway, so
but but yeah, I'm. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Leah, and because there's going to be another confrontation between, or an interaction anyway, between her and Daryl.
yes.
And I kind of think at this point that if he might actually kill her.
You know what though? Yeah, I think, once he finds out what she's been doing and they're going to have some kind of confrontation again, some kind of
Hmm.
way, she's not going to walk away from it.
No, I mean right now she is on her own, so
Mhm.
she might have a wagon full of stuff. But if it's just her, I mean, it's just her. There's only so much that one person can do on their own. Now, she may have been starting to gather people up again, but as far as I know, they killed every one of her fellow soldiers. So now it has been 6 months. We saw Negan getting married with a baby on the way. So, I mean, she definitely could have started rebuilding her group
Or found
or
a
found
group.
a group and is,
Mhm.
now arming them and
Right.
training them.
Right.
So it's hard to say, but that there's going to be some kind of confrontation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be wild.
I know. I got to tell you, so far this middle part of the season, I am really enjoying it. And we had that one slow episode, but other than that, I have really liked this season, mid season, part
Yeah.
B, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um,
Part 2 of 3. Yes.
that's right, the middle.
Right.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yes, it's not disappointing. It's definitely interesting, and I'm still having a hard time trying to sort out how all this stuff is going to shake out. But apparently, I think they're done with the last season. They're done recording the last episode. Excuse me. They're
Hmm.
done with it now. I think. If they're not already, they will be in a day or two.
Yeah.
So then we just have to contend with spoilers and not finding out what happens in the final episode.
Right. And I'm going to be actively avoiding that because I
Yeah,
mean it's kind of fun to know, but at the same time I don't think that the enjoyment will be there. If
exactly.
if you know exactly how things are going to end, it's a lot harder to enjoy the ride because okay, yeah, we know. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I feel like I want the 100% first time, I don't know what's going to happen experience. So at the end of that thing, either I like it, I hate it, or somewhere in between, but I don't want to be spoiled at all for the
Hmm.
ending. And
Exactly.
all these people out here are going to try to spoil it. So I think like probably within the next couple of weeks or a month, we're going to have to really be on guard for spoilers.
Oh, I know. I have a friend out in California who's offered me. Apparently, he's was able to get his hands on future scripts. Would you like
Mm,
some? No,
no.
no, I don't. I don't want them. But thank you for asking. I do appreciate you were thinking about me. You know,
I mean, that's really nice and all, but I mean, honestly, why do I want to read some scripts when I can just watch the show and enjoy it for that? I mean,
exactly. Well,
I
and
don't know.
even the scripts. I mean, because there's always things that they're going to change up when they actually do the actual scenes.
Yeah.
Um, and but again, I don't want to ruin it. I
Exactly.
really just I like the experience of it unfolding as it unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
We
Same.
make predictions and stuff, but it's that's just what they are. They're just our opinions based on what we've seen. They're predictions, nothing
Right.
more.
They're predictions, not spoilers. We don't really
Exactly.
know.
Hmm.
And it's great when our predictions come to life when we're like, right, we love it. It's
I
so
know.
fun. Yeah, it's
It's
fun when we're
great.
right. Yeah. But yeah. All right, I think we're about done. What do you think, Lisa?
I think we are done.
Okay. Well, you guys, it's been so great having you here. Thanks for checking us out live. If you're listening on the replay, we appreciate you listening to the end of the episode. That really helps us out with the algorithm and all that.
Uh-huh.
Be sure to leave a like on whatever platform you're listening to. And we will be here again next week to talk about the next episode. So that is it. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.